Hey, welcome to another episode of the You Got the Wrong Dude podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you're listening on Anchor, which I guess... No, I'm kind of confused. I guess Spotify, maybe you can still leave a voice message. But otherwise, leave a comment. I'll have links to my socials in the description. This episode is going to be about my filmmaking journey so far. And so we'll be diving into like the VHS days, which doesn't really count because that stuff, we'll talk about it. But just back to when I started kind of making movies, short films and that until now. So I'll be talking about how one of my animated short films got into film festivals and it actually ranked pretty high. So we'll talk about that. Projects that didn't really go anywhere. So, I have a lot of scripts and stuff, but we'll talk all about that stuff. But a lot of cool stuff to go over. So enjoy. Well, we got to start back in the camcorder days. I remember my parents may still have it. The last camcorder we ever had, there was a charging issue, and we never figured it out. So it just kind of sat in a bag for years and years. It's probably still there. But I bring this up because, just before 2000, this is in high school, I believe, because I remember writing a script, a parody of 007, probably inspired by Austin Powers movies. And I remember segments and stuff. I don't remember the whole thing. I wish I did. But I wrote out a script, shot it with my friend, his sister, and my sister, and which was cool. We were all friends in that. And then I remember scrapping the whole project and rewriting it for some reason. I wasn't happy with it. And maybe before that or around the same time, Blair Witch was really popular. So I remember us shooting a Halloween kind of short film. It was dark in the backyard. So again, this is high school, probably 98, 99, around there. But I wonder, where are those tapes? Or if somebody taped over them, because in those days, this is years before YouTube. But even back then, I didn't know I wanted to be a filmmaker, even though we reshot that 007. I think it was called Gold something. I still actually have the script, so I'll have to dig that up. I'm actually going to write that down. But that's funny that I'm just I think we shot most of it or all of it, and then I just decided we're going to scrap it and start over. But if I ever see that, because I wish I could remember all of it, but those are the good VHS days, and we didn't even share it with anybody, I don't think. You just watch it with your friends, and that was it. Now, years later, in 2006, that's when everything changed. In my head, I got flooded with these waves of ideas for a story, and I just started writing things down. I still have everything I wrote, everything I've written, on this little notepad. And I remember showing it to a coworker. They kind of read over it, and some of it was just ideas, but then I'd write out full scenes and stuff. And then after I left that job, right after, I think it may have been that day, that's when I discovered MySpace and YouTube. So I'd make trailers for a book that didn't exist yet. It was a story I was writing. And even and this is, Windows Movie Maker. It looks terrible, the stuff back then. Just the blue screen and the white text. But I think I probably made at least a movie page on MySpace or even YouTube for the movie. It was called Last Days on Earth. And over the years, I'll come back to it a little bit, but I kind of wrote out all the ideas that I had. And I'm glad I did, because over the years, you think of more stories, screenplays, ideas, and such. My advice, just write them down. Every idea. Because just like the VHS tapes, you'll record over things. But that was just an exciting time. If you haven't already listened to it, my episode about MySpace, because it was just an exciting time. You could just make a page for anything. And looking back, it's like I didn't even have a camera, certainly not on my phone, and nothing really even to sell. It's just like, this is something I'm working on. Well, in 2014, I wrote a screenplay. It's called Trick or Treat, and it's Halloween themed, obviously. Silent film. So writing the screenplay was pretty simple. A lot of mannerisms, facial expressions, gestures, and such. And I wrote it for 2 coworkers, 2 friends, and they both turned it down. But looking back, neither of them were actors. And I was bummed out about it by them not wanting to do it. But you can have people in mind when you write stuff, but that doesn't mean like they're on board. You want to shop it around more, which I understand. But that screenplay I wrote, and then I had, I believe, 2 more revisions, like an extended version. And so I've been sitting on that for almost 10 years, and I was going to make it as an animated short film. Problem is, the program I was using, the software, didn't have a lot of the movements, most of them that I needed. Couldn't really do special effects or anything. Props, accessories, things like that. But there is another animated software I could use, but they're pretty pricey. Some of them, the subscription packages are pretty expensive. But I do intend to make it someday, and I tried, with other people, but it kind of fell apart, so that's too bad. My first animated short film I released in 2014, and it's called Modern Ninja, and has to do with cell phones. And, these 2 warriors are going to fight, and, different warriors in that throughout. But then their cell phone goes off, or they take a selfie, kind of goofy stuff. Because at the time, I had no interest in that stuff. I had a little Samsung, just a tiny phone, no internet, no video, I don't think. Just photos and that, but very small screen. I mean, looking back, it's like, what was I thinking? But the film I made with Go Animate, which is now Beyond, and I had a lot of fun experimenting, with the music score and that, the selections. I'm surprised it's still up, because you figure it'd be blocked in some countries, but no, it's still up. I'll have a link for you in the description, so make sure and check that out. But that's easy to make because I can work on it whenever I want. You're not waiting for people, trying to cast, characters and crew and all that. But I'll talk more about that next with the Star Wars project. Well, in 2015, I had big plans for a Star Wars movie, a short film. It's called Star Wars The Force Awakens. Yes, based off of The Force Awakens, bit of a parody. And a lot of planning went into it, and it never worked out. However, good experience was shooting the promo, the Kickstarter campaign. And I'll have a link to that in the description. And that, thankfully, was easy to cast. We shot that in maybe just like a couple hours. And it's before I really thought about like sound and lighting. You can tell when you watch it. It's very amateur. But, and it's very long. It should have been like, a minute, just getting to the point. But I love writing. So those 3 I cast, we met up, and we even shot a little bonus scene, I just remembered. And that was a lot of fun. But I'm doing like, 1 line at a time. Like typically in, professional films, you'll shoot one actor's dialogue. Like a conversation, the camera will be on them, and the person they're talking to is off camera. And then they'll, switch that and do the other person's dialogue, if that makes sense. But I was just doing like, okay, you say this line, and then going to the next person, okay, that line, next person, that line, and looking back, it's like, oh my gosh, no lighting, no professional sound. I was using my roommate's camera. It was a Sony, like a HD something. But we had a lot of fun making that, I think. And I'd actually showed them the screenplay or something like that, maybe a synopsis for The Force Awakens, seeing if they'd be interested. And, again, looking back, it's like, well, now I would actually cast people. Like, you have to show me, an audition tape or something. But then I was just like, just anybody. But they all did a great job, and, it was a lot of fun directing in that. And we shot it at Lake Meridian Park, and it was a good time. But that didn't get any traction at all. And I was on social media, but I could have promoted it better. There was no TikTok. Instagram, I don't think I was on Instagram at the time. Or if I was, I had very few things posted. But now I just throw stuff up on all social media. So after that, I was really pumped. And I started, on Craigslist. I do casting calls and such. And there's this one guy, we actually had a lot of conversations. His name is Joseph. And I always felt bad because he was going to choreograph the lightsaber duels because I wanted it to look great. Like a fan short film, but something where you're like, oh, Lucasfilm will buy this. So we had conversations, but I had to keep pushing the shoot dates because some people, they just bail. No word, nothing. Actually, that was it. Like, some people would just drop out and I wouldn't hear anything. It's like, let me know if it's a no or you just changed your mind. But people I wouldn't hear from them. I had a caterer lined up I never heard back from. And I was so confused. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And so with Joseph, he kept in contact. I still have the emails and that, but we talked about, stuff as far as choreography and probably, lightsabers and stuff, like good quality ones, talking about shots, and he had some experience with that stuff too. But it's a shame that project never went anywhere, and I just moved on because after that, with Plotagon, that's when I started making short films because my dad said, why don't you just make animated stuff? Because, unless you have a big budget or something, it's just hard to get people on board because I remember offering pay and having a shooting schedule and that. But at the time, I was ready to shoot, a bunch of scenes in one day, and now you realize it takes a while to get, a little bit done. But I was really bummed out about that. But then I moved on to Plotagon. I'd already been making some stuff, but I got more interested in making, short films. And I used a Windows Movie Maker to combine everything. Now I use Canva. But back then, even short films, a few minutes and that. But I'll have links to all those in the description. So 2013, I think I got on board with Plotagon, started making animated videos, kind of shorts and that. And then 2015, I started making short films. And those are a lot of fun to make. And I mean that. It's a lot of work, but I love editing, creating. And they're all silent films. And I've had some fellow Plotagoners, fellow plotters, contribute music, voiceover. So when you watch those, be sure and give them a shout out. They're always in the credits. But 2016, I believe, I discovered filmfreeway.com, and there you can submit to film festivals online. And I selected the free ones to enter, and one of my short films called My Fair Lady and the Trump, I was a finalist in the 2016 LA Cinefest. I was also selected to play in the Grand IndieWise Convention in 2018 and was a finalist. and semi-finalist, Hollywood Screenings Film Festival. And I'll have, like I said, I'll have links to all my stuff, so check out the other films and where they've ranked. But it's great entering because, you posted on Twitter. I just entered into this film festival, and a bunch of other film festivals, their accounts, they'll retweet, they'll like, even share. So you just get kind of flooded for a bit with tweets, and great support system. And if you listen to my Tom Sizemore pod bit, I talk about him reaching out to me personally, as I'm sure he did with others, inviting me to a film festival several years ago, which is awesome. And another thing I'm really proud of, author Matthew Hahn, Hahn, he reached out to me. I made this Marx Brothers Plotagon animated short film, silent, back in 2015 called Going Down, Mr. Trump. And in the comments, you can see he reached out to me. He made this book called The Animated Marx Brothers, I believe it's called. I'll have a link to that in the description, so be sure to pick that up. And he used still one, maybe two. I was credited twice in the book, but he used a still from the film, which is so cool. And that's such an honor because, he's looking for everything. Just putting every animated Marx Brothers thing into one book. And that was really cool. So shout out to Matthew. And be sure and check that out. Well, in 2013, I even announced this on social media. You could probably still find it on Facebook, maybe Twitter. But I decided that I'd found the subject for my first film. That's funny, I wrote this later on in the notes. This actually predates everything I've talked about. But basically, I was fascinated. I'm not going to say exactly what it is because I'm still planning to make it, but it is about Howard Hughes, a specific time in his life, something I was just fascinated by. And I actually have a notebook dedicated to it. I wrote down my ideas, even how the movie's going to end. But Warren Beatty, I remember, I think around that time, he was still talking about his Howard Hughes film. It had been in the works, I believe, since the late 70s. And eventually it came out. It's called Rules Don't Apply. And I was worried maybe it's about the same thing, the same period in his life. Because like The Aviator, that's no problem. That doesn't deal with anything that my story would cover. But, of course, Rules Don't Apply. I'll have to watch it again, but really great film. And I was thankful. I was like, oh, good. It didn't touch on any of that stuff. But I ended up doing a lot of research, buying books, which I still haven't read. But it's just one of those projects. It's new and exciting. You write down everything, all your ideas, and then you just kind of sit on it because I'm not in the film industry. Even though I have films that have been in film festivals, which is awesome. And, of course, the book that I mentioned in the last segment. But, that's about 10 years old now when I started writing that. But I kind of kept a journal, my ideas, because I'm fascinated by this, like I said, specific time in his life, some business dealings, and, a lot of research in that, but hopefully one day I'll be able to make that, and I don't even want to say where, because that might give it away. Or I would give it away, because it's based there. But yeah, that was another project. I never even got around to casting or anything like that. There's no script, but just kind of a story right now. Well, I have a variety of screenplays that I've written. Some stuff just for fun. Again, I'll have a link in the description. My Ron Dude site. I have, like Avengers, that kind of stuff on there. Ronin, an alternate ending. And just a lot of cool stuff. And then my Fast and Furious Fanatic website, I have quite a few screenplays on there. I wrote 4 send-offs for Paul Walker's Brian O'Connor, and then just a variety of others. So make sure to check those out. And lastly, I got to share these because I think back to them every now and then, which is kind of weird, just because I want to see the footage. But, I haven't been in any films or anything. Technically haven't made like a live action movie, but I wanted to give out my credits. Local news in the early 90s. I remember they were filming a segment in our neighborhood because there was a discussion about putting a cemetery next to it, which I don't think they ever did. And I remember me, maybe my sister and a friend or two, we were probably like 100 feet back or something, because they kept asking us to move. They were filming the segment, and the camera, you could see us. We're like waving and stuff. And that's my TV credit. And then I worked at Washington Mutual back in 2000 to 2001. And I was a high school intern. And they used me for the promo video. I'm sure they used others as well. But it was really cool. I mean, they filmed it in the bank. They made it into a film set, just a small area. And at the time, I'm surprised I was able to do it because public speaking, anything like that, my tongue would kind of get numb. You get the lump in your throat. I was very, very shy. And, but we got through it in that. And I remember they had me and this lady, and we're standing so close, like maybe a foot apart. And we went over the lines and stuff, and I wish I could remember more, but it was really cool. And I remember when they got the tape back, because there were no DVDs at the time, I don't think. Again, this is probably 2000, 2001. And they said, do you want to see it? And I probably said, never, burn it. But now I'd like to see it because, I was probably 17, 18, a lot slimmer, and I just can't believe, looking back, I don't think I got paid for it. I really should have. Over the years, I've looked for it on YouTube, but now I'm like, maybe I should have gotten a check. Darn. Well, I think it's too late to sue them. No, I wouldn't do that. But I don't remember getting any compensation for that. But at the time, it was, I don't think I even told anybody about it. Because, I have a lot of issues, very insecure in that. And I got made fun of a lot too. But anyways, it is cool to have that credit. And I'd like to find that video. I'd like to see myself, because I can't remember, any of the lines or anything. But yeah, those are my credits. Well, thanks for listening to this episode. If you have any stories to share, please do leave a voice message or a comment. Links to everything in the description. And hopefully the next 10, 20 years, I'll have more stuff to report on. I haven't made an animated short film in about 5 years in October. I have screenplays in that, and it's not like I got burned out or anything, because I made quite a few in, about a 3-year period. But I want to get better about promoting those. That way people are like, hey, when are you going to make more? But again, thanks for listening. And subscribe, follow, share, like, all that fun stuff. And I will see you next time on the You Got the Ron Dude podcast.